Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States, has died at the age of 100. After a series of short hospital stays, Carter announced in February of 2023 he was entering hospice care to spend the rest of his time at home with his family. Mark Barger has more on the former president's life.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
Jimmy Carter personified the American dream, rising from farm life in the rural South to become the 39th president of the United States. He was born and raised in the small hamlet of Plains, Georgia. After serving in the U.S. Navy, he returned home to Plains and made a success of the family's peanut farm. He also met Rosalind Smith, the woman who became not only his wife, but his closest advisor. Carter began his political career as a Georgia state senator before winning the governorship.
The time for racial discrimination is over.
He ordered a portrait of Martin Luther King Jr. displayed in the Georgia Capitol.
My name is Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president.
Carter's 1974 campaign for the White House began as the longest of long shots. In the wake of Watergate and Vietnam, his appeal as a straight-shooting Washington outsider grew, and he narrowly defeated Gerald Ford in 1976. The Carter presidency was highlighted by the Camp David Agreement, bringing a once unthinkable peace between Egypt and Israel. But economic recession and high interest rates crippled Carter's term in office, and the Iranian hostage crisis devastated it. Americans grew frustrated with Carter's handling of the situation, including an aborted rescue attempt that eroded confidence in his leadership. Republicans capitalized in 1980 as Ronald Reagan's sunny optimism ended Carter's re-election bid with a resounding victory. But from that defeat, a remarkable second act. Private citizen Carter began a new career, helping build homes for the poor in America, making Habitat for Humanity an international name, even while focusing on global humanitarian causes. In 2002, Jimmy Carter won the coveted Nobel Peace Prize. But in 2015, at the age of 90, he announced he was diagnosed with melanoma, which had spread to his brain.
I was surprisingly at ease. You know, I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends.
Carter underwent cancer treatment and recovered, remaining active well into his 90s, teaching Sunday school at his South Georgia church. Even after suffering a series of falls, Carter's resilience allowed him to continue building homes for Habitat.
I'd say peace and human rights and treating everybody the same has been what I hope will be my legacy.
By the end of his life, Jimmy Carter had won the deep respect and admiration of not only Americans, but people around the world. Mark Barger, NBC News.
And Governor Janet Mills released a statement regarding Carter's passing. Mills writes, in part, President Carter led a remarkable life centered around service to others. He was the moral conscience of a nation whose words and deeds demonstrated that the human capacity for kindness and goodness is limitless. Mills also says, on behalf of the people of Maine, she extends her deepest sympathies to the Carter family. And President Carter actually visited Maine several times before, during, and after his 4 years in office. That included a memorable visit to Bangor in 1978. Our Don Kerrigan has the story of one family who keeps fond memories of the presidential visit.
It's a typical, neat East Side Bangor home, except for the little bronze plaque on the door, a reminder that 45 years ago,
I don't know what their decision will be when it's recommended to me.
When President Jimmy Carter came to town, he spent the night in this house on Maple Street with the Murray family.
So the fact that he was coming to Maine at all was exciting, but to Bangor specifically and to our house was just a little mind-blowing.
Winnie Murray Higgins was 22 that February, recently married. Younger brother Buddy was 18, a freshman at Boston College. When the word came from the family, the president was coming to visit.
As I'm walking from the bus to the dorm, one of my pals yells out the window of our dorm. He opens the window, this is February, and he yelled out, I'll never forget, he yelled out, and the President of the United States will be staying at the Murray home this weekend.
I mean, Mom was all abuzz about what she was going to feed him. That was a big pressing issue at the time.
Older brother Frank was at Catholic Seminary in Washington. Older sister Kathy was already working as a nurse in Florida, where they talked with us by Zoom 45 years later.
One, I was wicked proud that they had picked Dad. Of all the good men in Maine, that Dad was picked, and I was so happy for Dad.
She and Frank quickly got plane tickets home.
They sort of made it clear to us, you're all welcome home to be here when he gets here, but none of you can stay overnight because there's only 4 bedrooms in the house, and there's one for them, one for the president, one for his appointment secretary stayed in the house with him.
They say the house quickly became as much a headquarters as a home, with presidential staff and Secret Service.
Parked in the driveway, Dawn.
They put a Winnebago in the backyard, and they worked out of the Winnebago.
President Carter landed on a Friday and held a town hall meeting at a packed Bangor auditorium.
But I can't promise you at this point that I'll keep Loring Air Force Base open at its present full strength.
And when the speech had ended, the Murrays had company.
He greeted Mom very warmly and Dad, and also went across the street, shook hands with people.
They recall the president carrying his own bags into the house. Then they all sat down together, with the White House press pool in the next room for a photo op.
And I remember the first thing that happened after they all cleared out, he called Rosalind.
What kind of guy was he? What did he seem like?
Oh. He was really a sweet gentleman. He was so polite, so sweet. So you felt, when I first went in and went to shake his hand, he hugged me.
And instantly made you feel very comfortable.
But he was definitely very happy to come in to this humble house and sit down and have coffee and go to bed.
In the morning, the neighbors were all eager for a chance to see the president, and got it. And after a big family breakfast, they all went with the president to a morning event at Husson College. Then Carter took off, and Frank, returning to Catholic Seminary in Washington, was invited to fly with him on Air Force One.
Well, he knew I had been in the legislature, he knew I had run for Secretary of State, and but he was more interested in my decision to become a priest.
It had been a whirlwind few days. Those memories still held in the family scrapbook.
They really enjoyed it for the rest of their lives, you know, to be able to, every once in a while somebody would say, oh, weren't you the guy that the president stayed?
And all of them still hold memories of Jimmy Carter himself as a president and as a person.
He has, by the things that he's engaged in and been involved with since his time in office, has really shown how a former president can really exercise so much influence and so much power in such quiet ways.
I think he was and is a good man, and that transcended his life before, which I don't know much about, during, and certainly after.
The Murray family learned that close up, and say the way Jimmy Carter has lived his life is no surprise after getting to know the man in their living room.
And that was Dawn Kerrigan reporting.